Alright, well, thank you everyone for coming back. Today, I'd like to go over a few things that I liked and that I didn't like in the new Fallout TV series. The Fallout series is based on the popular video game franchise by the same name, which was released back in 1997. The premise of Fallout basically takes place in a post-apocalyptic, retro-futuristic America, where most of the Earth has been destroyed and irradiated. I'm not exactly a Fallout expert. I'm not well grafted into the lore, but I felt like the series gave me a very good gateway into the whole Fallout universe. So let's just get into it. The Fallout series follows three characters: Lucy, Maximus, and the Ghoul. Lucy, played by Ella Prunell, is a Vaultie from Vault 33, where she is the daughter of the overseer there. She grew up not knowing much about the destruction, the chaos, the struggles of the Wasteland. That's until her vault was raided by Lee Moldaver, played by Sarita Chundari. Moldaver raided their vault and massacred a bunch of Vaulties, kidnaps the overseer, Hank, her dad, and she's now forced to go and find him and journeys into the Wasteland. Maximus, played by Aaron Morton, is a new recruit of the Brotherhood of Steel. He is what you would call a man with something to prove. He is often picked on by other cadets and given some of the most menial tasks. You can see that in episode 1, where he has to take out the dung, so to speak. When his closest friend, Dane, gets anointed a squire, he learns to take matters into his own hands, and then he eventually becomes anointed a squire. He's kind of the underdog in this unforgiving wasteland. Now the Ghoul, played by Walton Goggins, is a 200-year-old zombie, I would say, that basically survives on drugs that prevents him from going feral. We get to see a lot of the earlier life of the Ghoul as Cooper Howard, a famous actor who was contracted by Vault Tech to be their spokesperson. As the Ghoul, he basically wanders the wasteland collecting caps. So the three characters, how they intersect, it's comedic gold in my opinion. The different personalities and how they interact with each other. Lucy's very upbeat and perky. Maximus, he is a bit more outwardly calm, except he has a lot of angst and anxiety and rage on the inside. And the Ghoul, he's just a Ghoul. He goes around, he takes what he wants, when he wants, and however he wants. So the series takes a look at three areas in society, and these are the things that I like about it. It takes a look at society through the lens of the haves and the have-nots. We can see that the Vaulties are the more privileged in society, and the Wastelanders are the ones that were kind of left behind. And we get to see the dynamics in that relationship, primarily with tensions brewing over their privilege. We see that in modern society today. It also notes at capitalism and communism and the two dichotomies in thinking, replicating the Cold War sentiments. And so I think it takes a very interesting look at both sides of the spectrum, shows how people from different parts of society struggles to survive. And it really looks into the psychology of survival. If we take a look at the Vaulties, a lot is provided for them to maintain the vault. However, it was all provided, it was all prepared, and that led to them having a very comfortable and collaborative environment. While if we look at Maximus and the Brotherhood of Steel, uses a lot of deception in his mode of survival. He wanted to be stronger, and that's why he joined the Brotherhood. It is a statute of pushing oneself, overcoming weakness to survive. And then the Ghoul, he was former military, cowboy, actor, and so utilizing all of that. He's a force of just sheer violence throughout the wasteland, and he does it in his style, of course. But those different mentalities of how to relate to one another I do like that it touches on those aspects of survival as well. And then the last part that I really thought was very interesting and I really liked was that it really kind of touches on power vacuums and power in general. We see these major corporations kind of consolidating power, basically to create the end of time. As power wanes, we see these different factions rise up, trying to gather and maintain holds on resources. For example, we see that there's a new form of economy where money is no longer really the valuable thing, but bottle caps. And in my research looking into why bottle caps, I learned because water, or clean water, was such a rare resource, people would trade bottles primarily as a mean of commerce. They would use the caps relative to one bottle of water. Water is fulfilled by whoever is willing to honor it and whoever has a source of stored water. We can see that these companies and different people are trying to formulate the society in their own vision. The leader from the Brotherhood of Steel claiming that if we capture this one item, we will control the wasteland. So we can see that there's a rush for control. So some things I didn't like about the series was some of the things didn't make sense to me, and it probably is because I'm not well versed in the lore. I would have loved to see more of the Fallout creatures there. We were introduced to a few, but I would have loved to see more of the creatures in the Wasteland. Really expand that world a bit more to really capture the actual dangers that are out there. The other thing that I didn't like, the shootout with the ghoul in Philly. There was a moment where one of the, I'm going to call him a rando. Randos were shot by the ghoul. And if you look at the physics of it, he was literally shot through the chest. Later, the ghoul is sitting next to him as he's bleeding out. And he says, I would give you a cherry tomato, but you have a hole in your neck. And then you see him holding his neck and bleeding out the neck. I think that attention to detail there was a bit lacking. But overall, I think the series did a great job in representing the world and some of the artifacts in the world. I would have really liked to see a bit more cohesiveness in some of the plot lines. I felt it was a bit over the place. Primarily, I have a few open questions, and I hope that they answer them in season 2. My first question is Hank as the overseer of Vault 31 through 33. So later in the series, we find out that Hank is the overseer of all 3 vaults that are connected. In episode 1, he is wedding his daughter to someone in Vault 32, where Lee Moldaver and her crew have been waiting this entire time. If Hank is the overseer of all vaults, and there's been a massacre in Vault 32, how does he not know that Lee Moldaver is there? And why did he let her in? So that is one of the questions that I have. The other thing is about Lee Moldaver. How does she survive for 200 plus years? Did she go into cryo sleep? We get an idea of how Hank has survived, but we don't get a clear picture of Lee Moldaver. Steph Harper, the blondie in Vault 33, who was apparently part of Vault 31. Is she one of the big baddie in the Vault-Tec management? These questions are left unanswered. It just leaves a lot of questions for me, and I think I would have liked to see a bit more cohesive wrap-up, at least, of season 1 that leads into season 2. But overall, I think the show was great, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm excited that we have season 2, and I'm just looking forward to it. So that's it for my review. If you liked what you heard, please leave the like, subscribe for more content. We'll be working on creating more and more content at a more rapid pace. So more to come. So thanks for joining us, and look forward to next time.